Okay, we are reading The Last Vampire, Blackblood. This may be the conclusion. We will see. Now, here is the book synopsis. Believing that she and her partner, Ray, are the last remaining vampires, 5,000-year-old Alyssa is stunned when she learns about a series of brutal murders in the United States that can only be the work of their own kind. Okay, so let's begin. Once again, I sit outside the house of the mother of Edward Fender. The time is 11:30 at night. Christmas is 10 days away. Up and down the block, cheap colored lights, like so many out-of-season Easter eggs that have been soaked in day-glow paint, add false gaiety to a neighborhood that should have been on the late Soviet Union's first strike priority list. Sitting in Gary and Bill's patrol car allowed my senses to spread out, in and outside of the Fender home, around the block. My hearing is my greatest ally. Even the movements of worms through the soil a quarter of a mile away come to my sensitive ears. Mrs. Fender is still awake, sitting in her rocking chair and reading her magazines, watching Save Your Soul before Armageddon Jesus program. She is definitely alone in the house, and I am pretty sure Eddie is not in the immediate neighborhood. This puzzles me. With the police security near the warehouse and his confidence in the cleverness of his Yaksha hiding place, I can understand why Eddie left the ice cream truck unguarded. But I cannot understand why he has left his mother wide open for me to take hostage. By now, he must have figured out that I found the warehouse through her. Again, I am worried of a trap. With Yaksha's blood in my system, my strength is back to 100%, maybe even at 120%, although I know I am still no match for Eddie, who drew upon Yaksha's blood many times over several weeks. Unfortunately, my state of mind is shaky. After Yaksha drew his last breath, I weighed the canvas bag that covered his lower portion with stones and waded out into the water and sank him. I made certain his remains are now safe from harm. He will never be found, yet he has left me with a riddle I can't solve. Krishna told him his story 5,000 years ago. Why was Yaksha so sure Krishna gave it to him to give to me for this particular emergency? For the life of me, and my life is very large, I can't see how I am going to destroy Eddie by dancing for him. For me, the word faith is as abstract as the word God. I trust that everything is going to work out for the best about as much as I trust that Santa Claus is going to bring me a bottle of blood for Christmas. What can I do? I have no real plan except the obvious: take Mrs. Fender hostage and force Eddie to come running, and then put a bullet in his brain when I get the chance. On my lap rests Officer Gary's revolver, or is it Officer Bill's? It doesn't matter. It was in their car, and it has 6 bullets in it. After tucking it in front of my pants under my shirt, I get out of the car and walk toward the house. I don't knock. Why bother? She will not open the door for me. Grabbing the knob, I break the lock and am on her before she can reach for the remote control on her TV. Modern Americans are so into their remotes. They treat them as if they were hand phasers or something. capable of leveling any obstacles. Fear and loathing distort her already twisted features, yet the emotions are a sign that her brain has cleared. I am so happy for her, really. Grabbing her by the throat, I shove her against the wall and breathe cold vampire air in her ugly face. Before burying Yaksha in the sea, I stripped down to nothing. But I was still wet when I put my clothes back on. The pants Joel bought for me drip on the wood floor, and I tightened my grip on the old lady. Her her weird gray eyes peer into mine. As they do, her expression changes. The bondage scares her, but it excites her as well. What a family. Where's your son, I ask. She coughs. Who are you? One of the good guys. Your son's one of the bad guys. I throttle her a bit. Do you know where he is? She shakes her head minutely, turning a little blue. No. I doubt it. I think she knows. She is telling me the truth. Have you seen him tonight? No. Another genuine reply. Odd. I allow a grim smile. What did Eddie do as a kid for fun? Did he stick firecrackers in frogs' mouths and blow their heads off? Did he pour gasoline on cats and light them on fire? Did you buy him the gasoline? Did you buy him the cats? Really? I want to know what kind of mother it takes to make that kind of son. She momentarily masters her fear and grins. The expression is like a crack in a swamp mud and smells just as foul. My Eddie's a good boy. He knows what to do with girls like you. Your boy has never met a girl like me before. I throw her back in her chair. Sit there and keep your mouth shut. Take the chair across from her. Taking the chair across from her, I sit down. We are going to wait for Eddie. What are you going to do to him? I pull out my revolver. Kill him. She hardly blinks. In fact, on the whole, she is remarkably accepting of my extraordinary strength. Her boy must have enlightened her on the new kids in town. Her fear continues to remain strong, but there is a cockiness in her as well. She nods as if to herself, her arthritic neck creaking like a termite-infested board. My boy's smarter than you. I think you'll be the one killed. Turning off the TV with the remote, I cross my legs. If he's so smart, then why did he run away from home the day he learned to walk? She doesn't like that. You're going to be sorry you said that. I'm already bored with her. We shall see. An hour later, the phone rings. Since I hope to scare Eddie into rushing to the house, there is no point in having the mother answer and pretending that I am not here. Eddie will not fall for so simple a ruse anyway. I pick up the phone. Hello, I say. Sita. It is Joel, and he is in serious trouble. In an instant, I realize that after I left him, he went to this house, where he was abducted by Eddie. Eddie was here while I was rescuing Yaksha, probably outside hiding, probably confident I would return here the first chance I got. But when I didn't show, he took the man who rescued me from the flames, no doubt thinking he could use him as leverage with me. In a moment I understand that the chances of Joel living through the night are less than 1 in 100. He is nearby, I say. Joel is scared but still in control. Yes. He has made his point as far as you are concerned. Put him on the line. I am expendable, Joel says. You understand that? We're both expendable, I reply. Eddie comes on the line a moment later. His voice is liquid grease. He sounds confident as well he should. Hello, Sita. How's my mother? She's fine, busy boasting about her son. Have you heard her? Thinking about it. Have you heard Joel? Just broke his arm is all. Is he another boyfriend of yours? That last one of yours didn't last so long. I strain to sound casual. You win some, you lose some. When you're as old as I am, one is as good as another. Eddie giggles. I don't know about that. Right now, I don't think you could do any better than me. I want to antagonize him, make him act foolishly. Are you making a pass at me, Eddie? Is that what this is all about? You want to rule the world so you can be sure to have a date for Friday night? You know, I talked to your old employer and heard what your idea of a good time is. I swear, with your social graces, I wouldn't be surprised if you're still a virgin. He does not like that. It is good, I think, to find sensitive nerves before we again meet in battle. For all of Eddie's intelligence, he seems to have a fundamentally immaturity when it comes to dealing with people. And I don't mean that he's simply psychotic. Many psychotics I have known have had excellent interpersonal skills when they weren't murdering people. Eddie is a sorrier case. He was the nerd in high school library at lunch, picking at his zits and fantasizing about rape every time a cheerleader walked by. His tone turns mean and nasty. Let's cut to the chase, he says. I want you to meet me at Santa Monica Pier in 30 minutes. If you are not there by then, I will begin to kill your friend. I will do so slowly, just in case a flat tire has delayed your arrival. It's possible you still might be able to recognize him if you're less than 20 minutes late. My mother, of course, is to be left in her home unharmed. He pauses for effect. Do you understand these instructions? I snort. Oh, give me a break. I don't jump when you say jump. You have nothing with which to threaten me. Such a thing does not exist on this planet. You want to talk to me. You get here within 30 minutes. If not, I will hang your mother's head on the front door in place of a Christmas wreath. The red color will be keeping with the holiday spirit. I pause. Do you understand my instructions, you foul-mothered pervert? He is angry. You're bluffing. Eddie, you should know me better than that by now. With that, I hang up the phone. He will come. I am sure of it. But I have to wonder if I want him to bring Joel. If another standoff with an important life hanging in the balance will not cause me to falter again. Almost. I pray that he kills Joel before I'm forced to kill him. Chapter 14. Alright, now, before I continue, for those of you who have not heard me read, the first book, The Last Vampire, I am almost done uploading all the videos onto YouTube. And if you need a link, it's in my bio. So, here we go. Chapter 14. A 1,000 years ago, in the Scottish Highlands, I was faced with a situation similar to the one that now confronts me. At the time, I had a royal lover. The Thane of Welson, my herald. We lived in a moderate-sized castle on the northwestern coast of Scotland, where the biting winter winds blew off the foaming ocean water like ice daggers carved by frigid mermaids. They were enough to make me dream of Hawaiian vacations, even though Hawaii had yet to be discovered. I liked Harold more than any other mortal I had met. He reminded me of Cleo and my old Greek friend. They had similar sense of humor, and they were both leeches. I like horny men. I feel they are true to their inner natures. Harold was not a doctor, however, like Cleo, but an artist, a great one at that. He painted me in a number of poses, many times nude. One of these paintings now hangs in the Louvre in Paris, and attributed to an artist who never even existed. Once I visited the museum and found a skilled art student painting a copy of the work. Coming up at his side, I just stood there for the longest time, and he kept glancing at me and sitting more curious. Indeed, looking a little closer, he even acted kind of scared. He wanted to say something to me, but didn't know what. Before leaving, I just smiled at him and nodded. Harold had caught my likeness perfectly. At the time in Scotland, there was an arrogant authority figure in the area, a certain Lord Tensley, who had a much bigger castle and ego than my Harold, but not the great object of his desire, which just happened to be me. Lord Tensley wanted me in the worst way, and did everything in his power to woo me away from Harold. He sent me flowers and horses and carriages and jewels, the usual Middle Ages fluff. But I will take a sense of humor over power and money any day. Besides, Lord Tensley was cruel, and even though I have been known to bite a few necks in my day and crush a few skulls, I have never thought of myself as one who enjoys pain at another's expense. One story had it that Lord Tensley had beheaded his first wife when she refused to smother their slightly handicapped female firstborn. All of Lord Tensley's subsequent lovers had stiff necks from checking their backs constantly. While I was with Harold, I was going through one of my reckless periods. Usually I go to great lengths to keep my true identity secret, and it wasn't as if I romped around the Scottish Highlands biting the neck of every McFarland and Scotty boy who walked by in the dark. But during that time, perhaps because I was lazy and tired of arguing with people, I used the power of my eyes and voice to quickly get what I wanted. Naturally, after a time, I developed the reputation of being a witch. This did not bother Harold, as it had not bothered Cleo before him. Both were progressive thinkers, but unlike Cleo, Harold actually knew that I was a vampire, that I often drank human blood. It really turned him on to have such a girlfriend. When he paid me, I often had blood on my face. Harold occasionally asked me to make him a vampire so that he wouldn't have to grow old and die. But he knew of Krishna and the vow I had made to him, so he didn't press me. Once Harold painted a picture of Krishna for me from my description, and that was a work I treasure above all others until it was destroyed in England in a German bombing raid during World War II. Because I had shunned Lord Tensley and had developed the reputation of being a witch, the good man of God felt it was his duty to have me tried and burned at the stake, a practice that was later to come into vogue during the Inquisition. In a sense, Lord Tensley was a man ahead of his time. He dispatched a dozen armed men to bring me in, and because Harold's entire security force consisted of maids, butlers, and mule boys, I met the contingent myself before they reached our castle, and sent their heads back to Lord Tensley with a note attached. The answer is still no. I thought that would scare him off, at least for a while, but Lord Tensley was more determined than I realized. A week later, he kidnapped my Harold and sent a note to me stating that unless I surrendered myself promptly, he would be sending me Harold's head. Storming Lord Tensley's heavily fortified castle would have been a difficult proposition, even for a creature such as I, and besides, I thought a little feigned cooperation would bring Harold back to me all the sooner. I sent another note back. The answer is yes, but you have to come and get me. Bring Harold. Lord Tensley brought Harold and 20 of his best knights. Hearing them approach, I sent my people off. None were fighters, and I didn't want them to get killed. Alone, I stood atop my castle gate that cold, dark night with a bow and an arrow in hand as the witch squad rode up on their horses. The nervous exhalation of the men and animals shone like dragon's breath in the orange glow of the flickering torches. Lord Tensley carried Harold before him on his own horse, a jagged knife held tight at my lover's throat. He called up to me to surrender, or he would kill my boyfriend before my eyes. The interesting thing about Lord Tensley was that he didn't underestimate me in the slightest. Naturally, one would expect the 10 heads I sent back to him to make him cautious, but the way he maintained his distance, keeping Harold directly in front of him, even the manner in which he avoided looking in my direction, made me think he honestly believed I was a witch. That was a problem. Generally in the past, before the advent of modern weapons, I could extricate myself from most situations by sheer speed and strength. An arrow or spear shot in my direction, I could just duck aside or catch it in midair. There was never a chance someone could defeat me in a sword fight, even when I didn't have a sword. It wasn't until guns were developed that I had to move more carefully and use my head before my feet or hands. For a long moment I licked the tip of the arrow in my hand and considered taking my best shot at Lord Tensley. The chances were excellent, and I could be able to kill him without harming Harold. The problem was I would not be able to stop the other men from quickly chopping up my lover. I will surrender, I called down, but first you must let him go. Lord Tensley laughed. He was an intensely handsome man, but his face somehow reminded me of a fox that dreamed of being a wolf. What I mean is he was sly and proud at the same time, and didn't care if he got his snout bloody, as long as it was at mealtime. Harold, on the other hand, was as ugly as a man could be and still have all his classic features in the right places. He had broken his nose on 3 occasions, each time while drunk, and the sad thing was that each shattered cartilage actually improved his appearance. But he could make me laugh, and he could make love all night, and what did the rest of it matter? I would do my best to save him, I knew, even at the risk of my own life. Cowards I have always despised above all else. You surrender first, Lord Tensley called back, and then we will let him go. I am all alone here, I said, a frail woman. Why don't your knights come get me? We will not debate with you which, Lord Tensley replied, and with that he stabbed his knife through Harold's upper right arm, a serious injury to receive in those days without modern surgical techniques and drugs. Even in the cold wind, I could smell the amount of blood pouring out of Harold. By bartering, I had made a mistake. I had to get to him soon. I will come down now, I called, setting aside my bow and arrow. Yes, I hung behind the castle gate, even as I peered my head out at the wicked gang, knowing they were coming. I had placed a fresh horse and supplies just beyond the nearby bluff. If Harold could get to the animal, I knew he would ride to a cave 2 miles distant that only the two of us knew about. There he could hide until his girlfriend extraordinaire figured out a way to wipe out the enemy. Harold had the utmost confidence in me. Even at that moment, bound and bleeding as he was, he smiled at me as if to say, give him hell. I was not worried about that part. It was keeping him alive at the same time that concerned me. But to that, I sought to focus my gaze on Lord Tensley. As I looked out from behind the gate, he continued to avoid my eyes, however. Let him go, I called, pitching my voice as powerfully as I could, knowing, if given the chance, that eye contact would magnify my subtle influence tenfold. Come out now, witch, or I stab his other arm. Lord Tensley called back, then your heathen lover will be doing more of those corrupt paintings of your filthy body. Harold was in fact left-handed. I had to restrain myself from replying that if I was burned at the stake, then Harold wouldn't be doing any more paintings of me in either case. As far as my filthy body was concerned, he hadn't minded the look and smell of it until I had told him to take a hike. Another phrase, by the way, that I think I invented. There's a place for sarcasm, and this was not one of them. I stepped into the open and spoke steadily. Now you keep your word and release him, I said. Lord Tensley did as requested, but it was a feint. I knew the moment he had me bound and gagged, he would chase after Harold and either cut him down or recapture him to be tried as a witch alongside me. Still, Lord Tensley could not know about the horse I had waiting nearby, and for that reason I exchanged a long stare with Harold as they untied him and let him climb to the ground. Harold and I, deep a telepathic bond, it was another special element in our relationship. Even with the pain of his wound and the pressure of the situation, he was able to sense my mind. Common sense also came to his aid. He knew I would want him to get to the cave. He nodded slightly before turning and fleeing into the night. Sadly, he left behind a trail of blood that I could smell only too clearly. When he was out of sight, I turned my attention to Lord Tensley's son, who had no reservations about looking at me. The young man was barely 16, but large as an ox. He had one of those cheerful, blank expressions that made me think that if his karma remained constant, that in his next life he would be a lineman for a professional football team and make $2 million a year. Never mind that at that time there was no football, or even dollars for that matter. Some faces and things I just have a feeling for. It was my intention to send him on to his great destiny as quickly as possible, but I knew subtle suggestion would not work on his primitive brain. Stepping forward and focusing my eyes deep into his head, I said in a calm, clear voice, "Your father is the witch. Kill him while you still can." The boy spun and shoved his sword into his father's gut. A look of immense surprise shone on Lord Tensley's face. He turned to me just before he fell off his horse. Of course, I was smiling. I know you've kept one of Harold's paintings of me in your closet," I said. "I look pretty good for a witch, don't I?" He tried to answer, but a glob of blood came out of his mouth instead of words. Toppling forward, Lord Tensley was dead before he hit the ground. Half the knights fled right then, including his athletic son. The other half stayed to fight. I dealt with them quickly, without mercy, largely because I was in a hurry to get to Harold. But I was too late. I found him lying on his back beside the horse I had left for him. The wound in the arm had punctured an artery, and he had bled to death. My Harold. I was to miss him for a long time. To this day, I have never returned to Scotland. What was the moral of the story? It was painfully simple. One cannot argue with evil men. They are too unpredictable. Waiting for Eddie, with his mother firmly in hand, I know he will do something weird. Still, I do not know what the moral of Krishna's story is. So now we're on chapter 15. The smell of Eddie, even from blocks away, is clear to me. Not that he makes any effort to sneak up on me. I assume this is because he values his mother's life as much as his own. His car stays at the speed limit. He parks out front. 2 sets of feet come up the porch steps. Eddie actually pays me the courtesy of knocking. Standing on the far end of the living room, with my gun to Mom's head, I call for him to come in. The door opens. Eddie has broken both of Joel's arms. They hang useless by the agent's side. Despite his intense pain, Joel strives to appear calm, and I admire him for it. He has many fine qualities. I really do care for the guy. Again, I have to tell myself that I cannot risk all of humanity for this one life. Joel flashes me a wan smile, almost an apology, as he is shoved through the door before Eddie. But he has no need to apologize to me, even though he has done exactly what I told him not to do. True courage in the face of almost certain death is the rarest quality on earth. Eddie has found himself a gun, a 10mm affair, standard FBI issue. He keeps it close to Joel's head and Joel's body close to his own. Eddie really does have a serious complexion problem. It looks as if, when he was an adolescent, he tried to treat his problem acne with razor blades. The experiment was a distinct failure. But it is his eyes that are the scariest. The green centers look like cheap emeralds that have been dipped in sulfuric acid and left out to dry in radioactive dust storm. The whites are more red than white. His eyes are not merely bloodshot, but hemorrhaging. Perhaps a local pollen irritates them. Maybe it's the sun. I dragged him out into earlier. He looks happy enough to see me, though, and his mother. He flashes us both a toothy smile. Mom doesn't reply, not with my fingernails around her throat, but she does appear relieved to see her darling boy. "Hi, Mom," Eddie says. "Hi, Sita." He kicks the door closed behind him. "I'm glad you were able to make it on time," I say, "but I didn't mind waiting. It's been pleasant talking to your mother, getting to know about Edward Fender." Was like as a young man growing up in a troubled times. Eddie scowls. "You're a bitch, you know that? Here I try to be friendly in a difficult situation, and you try to insult me." "I don't consider your trying to kill my boyfriend and myself an act of friendship," I say. "You drew first blood," Eddie says, "only because I was quicker than your friends. Drop the BS, Eddie, please. Neither of us is here to kiss and make up." "Why are we here?" Eddie asks. "To play standoff again? That didn't work so well for you last time." "I don't know. I destroyed your silly gang." Eddie snickers. "You're not sure of that." I smile. Now I am sure. You see, I can tell when someone lies. It's one of those great gifts I possess that you don't. There is only you left, and we both know it. What of it? I can make more whenever I feel the need. Why do you feel the need? So that you can always have someone to order about. And while we're on the subject, what is your ultimate goal? To replace all humanity with a race of vampires? If you study this situation logically, you'll see that it won't work. You cannot make everyone a hunter. There will be nothing left to hunt. Eddie appears momentarily puzzled. He is intelligent, but not wise. His vision is sharp, but not myopic. He does not look beyond next week. Then, just like that, he's angry again. His temper comes and goes like flares of in a lava pit. Logic is not going to work on him. "You're just trying to confuse me with that witchy voice of yours," he says. "I'm having a good time, and that's all I care about." I snort. "Well, at least now we understand your priorities." He grows impatient, pulling Joel tighter. He digs his thumbnail into Joel's neck, coming close to breaking the skin. "I let my mother go." "Let my mother go," he orders. I act casual as I dig my nail into his mother's neck. "You have a problem here, Eddie. I hardly know this guy. You can kill him, and I won't bat an eye. You're in no position to give me orders." He tries to stare me down. There's a power in his gaze, but no control. "I don't believe you will just kill an innocent woman," he says. "She bore you," I say. "She's not innocent." In response, Eddie pricks Joel's neck. The ice cream man has a good feel for deep-rooted veins. The flow of blood is immediate and thick. Joel shifts uneasily, but does not try to shake free, which he probably knows is impossible anyway. So far, he has allowed me to play the game, probably hoping I have a card up my sleeve that I'm not showing. All I have is Krishna's abstract tale, but as Joel feels his life draining away, soaking his white shirt a tragic red, I understand his need to speak. Yet he has finally begun to grasp the stakes of this particular pot and is not afraid to die. "He's not going to let me walk out of here alive, Sita," Joel says. "You know that. Take your best shot and be done with it." The advice is sound. Using Mom as a shield, I can simply open fire. The only trouble is Joel is not Ray. He will not heal in a matter of minutes. He will certainly die, and still I won't be sure of killing Eddie. This problem, it is age-old. To do what is right and save the day without destroying the very thing the day is lived for. I hesitate a moment, then dig my nail deep into Mom's neck. The woman lets out a terrified gasp. Warm blood spurts over my fingers. Which pump will run out sooner? I honestly don't know. Mom shakes visibly in my arms, and Eddie's face darkens. What do you want? He demands. Let Joel go, I say. I will let your mother go. Then it will just be between the two of us, the way it should be. I will beat you to the draw, Eddie says. I aim grim. Maybe. There's no maybe about it, and you know it. You're not going to release my mother. You're not here to negotiate. You just want me dead. Well, I say. Just use your gun, Joel says with feeling. His blood drips off his shirt and onto his pants. Eddie has opened the jugular. I estimate Joel has 3 minutes to live. He will be conscious for only half that. Slumping slightly, he leans back into Eddie, who has no trouble supporting him, although Joel struggles to remain calm. His color is white. It's not easy to watch yourself bleed to death. And what makes it worse is with his broken arms, he can't even raise a hand to press over his wound. Naturally, Mom tries to stop the bleeding, scratching me in the process with her claw-like fingers. But I keep the red juice coming. They will both die about the same time unless I do something quick, or Eddie does. But I do not know what to do. Release him, I say. No, Eddie says. Release my mother. I do not reply. I begin to panic instead. I cannot stand by and watch Joel die. Yes, I, ancient Sita, the scourge of Krishna, who has killed thousands, but maybe my unchanging nature has finally been rattled. I am not who I was 2 days ago. Perhaps it is because of the loss of Ray and Yaksha, but the thought of another death on my hands chills me to the core. A wave of nausea sweeps over me, and I see red that is not there, a deeper red than even the color of blood. A blotted sun sinking below the horizon at the end of the world. It will be the end of humanity, I know. To surrender to this maniac, but the mathematics of human life suddenly won't add up. I cannot spend one life to protect 5 billion, not when that one life begins to wobble and sink before my eyes. Joel's blood now drips off the hem of his pants onto the dusty floor. Mom's blood does likewise through her frumpy nightgown. What is wrong with Eddie? Can't he see the seconds ticking by? His mother cries in my arms, and I actually feel sorry for her. Yeah, I know. I picked a wonderful time to turn into a softie. In less than a minute, your mother will be beyond help, I explain. But if you act now, I will heal her neck and let her go. Eddie sneers. You can't heal. You can only kill. I harden my voice. I can do both. I can show you. Just let him go, and I will do the same with your mother. We can do it together simultaneously. Eddie shakes his head. You're lying. Maybe, maybe not. But your mother is dying. That's a certainty. I pause. Can you see that? Eddie's cheek twitches, but his will doesn't. No, he says. Joel sags dangerously to one side and has to be completely supported. There are 2 pints of blood on his shirt, 2 on the floor. His eyes are the color of baking soda. He tries to tell me to be strong, and he can hardly get the words out. Just shoot, he begs. God, do I want to. A bullet in the brain to put Joel out of his misery. Then another 5 bullets in Eddie. In more choice spots than at a coliseum. With his mother's life still in a balance, I am confident I can get off all 6 shots without taking a bullet myself. But the balance is on the verge of tripping. The scale is about to break. Mom sags in my arms. There is no longer enough blood in her veins to keep her heart from skipping. She has strength left for her tears, however. Why do they affect me so? She is a terrible person. Krishna will not be waiting to welcome her on the other side. If there really is such a place, yet, ironically, it is her very wretchedness that makes me pity her so. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know what to do. Joel, I say, showing Eddie just how busy my hand is by letting pain enter my voice. I didn't want any of this. I know. He tries to smile. Fails. You warned me. Eddie, I say. He likes to hear the weakness in my voice. Yes, Sita, you are a fool. You are a bitch. I sigh. What do you want, really? You can tell me that much at least. He considers. Just what I have coming to me. Christ, I want to throw up. They'll kill you. This planet is only so big. There are only so many places to hide. The human race will hunt you down and kill you. He is cocky. Before they know what's happening, there won't be many of them left to be hunting. Joel's dripping blood is like a river, a torrential current. I cannot free myself of no matter how hard I try. Once upon a time, I enjoyed such red floods. But that was when I believed they flowed into an ocean, the endless sea of Krishna's grace. But where is he now, the great God who promised me his protection if I but obeyed his command? He is dead, drowned by the indifference of time and space like the rest of us. Krishna, I whispered to myself, Krishna. He does not appear before me in a vision and explain to me why I suddenly released my grip on Eddie's mother. The surrender is not an act of faith. The despair I feel in this moment crushes the breath of either possibility. The woman stands at death's door, but somehow manages to stagger toward her son, with a twisted grin on her face that reminds me of a wind-up doll's. Her darling son, she believes, has conquered again. A sticky red trail follows her across the wood floor. Bereft of my mortal shield, I stand helpless waiting for the shots that never come. Of course, time is on Eddie's side, and he probably has worse things planned for me. He waits while his mother comes to him. Butterfly, she says sweetly, raising her bloodless arms to embrace him, shifting Joel into one arm. Eddie acts if he is ready to hug her. Sunshine, Eddie replies. Yet he grabs his mother with his free hand, hard. He yanks her head around all the way. The touch of the demon. Every bone in her neck breaks. Hitting the floor dead, her eccentric grin is still plastered on her face. Guess he wasn't that crazy about Mom after all. She was always telling me what to do, Eddie explains. The next minutes are a blur. I am told to surrender my gun, which I do. Joel deposited it on the couch, where he stares glassy-eyed at the two of us, still alive, still aware of what is happening, but unable to do anything about it. Eddie does allow me to stop Joel's bleeding. However, with a drop of blood from my own finger, Eddie probably just wanted to see how it was done. On the whole, as Yaksha predicted, he is very interested in my blood. By remarkable coincidence, he has a syringe and plastic tubing in his pocket. Don't leave home without them. The modern medical devices, no doubt, facilitate his manufacture of other vampires. Pointing his gun at me, Eddie has me take a seat at the dining room table. He also has a tourniquet, which he instructs me to tie around my upper left arm. I am a role model of cooperation. My veins pop up beneath my soft white skin. It is cold that I should notice a mole on my elbow right then, one which I never knew I had, even though it must have been there for the last 5,000 years. I cannot believe that I am about to die, not taking his eyes or his aim off me. Eddie fetches a couple of glasses of ice from the kitchen. Clearly he wishes to celebrate his conquest with several toasts. I do not flinch. He sticks the needle in my largest vein, and my blood traces a clear plastic loop into his glass. I'll have a bloody cedar on the rocks. Okay, so I am going to stop. That is enough for today. And tomorrow we will finish Blackblood, the last vampire. And for those of you who are interested in a YA mystery adventure with teen romance that is spooky and creepy like Fear Street and Are You Afraid of the Dark and of course Lost Boys, then you may enjoy Vampire Juice. Amanda and Sean stumble upon a mysterious can of juice while searching for Halloween costumes at a local store. Despite being kicked out by the sales clerk, they become obsessed with uncovering the truth behind the strange drink. With the help from some local bullies, they sneak back into the store through a crypt in the graveyard, only to find themselves in the midst of a spine-chilling adventure. Okay, and my link is in the bio. And for those of you who downloaded Vampire Juice for free, thank you for downloading it. Until tomorrow, I will see you next time.